The Brave Journey of Rosa and the Magic Bus. Once upon a time, in a bustling city called Montgomery, there was a magical bus. This bus wasn't like any other. It was enchanted by an old wizard who loved to travel. The bus had bright, shiny colors and seats that were more comfortable than any chair in the kingdom. But despite its magic, something very unfair was happening in Montgomery. The bus only allowed certain people to sit in the front, while others had to sit at the back or stand. One sunny morning, a kind and brave woman named Rosa was walking to her house. Rosa always smiled and helped everyone in the city, making her beloved by all. On this particular day, she felt a bit tired and decided to take the magical bus home. As Rosa boarded the bus, she greeted the bus driver with a warm smile. "Good day, sir," she said cheerfully. The bus driver, Mr. Grump, frowned and grumbled. "Sit at the back, Rosa. You know the rules." Rosa's heart sank, but she kept her smile. She walked to the middle of the bus and sat down in one of the sparkling, comfortable seats. Just then, a tall man with a serious expression boarded the bus. He looked at Rosa and demanded, "You need to move to the back. These seats are not for you." Rosa took a deep breath and replied calmly, "No, sir. I am tired, and I will sit here." Mr. Grump, hearing this, stomped over. "Rosa, you must move, or I'll have to call the guards." Rosa looked out of the window and saw the children playing in the park, the flowers blooming, and the birds singing. She felt a wave of courage wash over her. "Call them if you must," she said, "but I will not move." Mr. Grump huffed and puffed and finally called the guards. They came quickly and asked Rosa to move, but she refused. As the guards took Rosa away, the other passengers on the bus who had been silent began to talk among themselves. A young girl named Lily turned to her mother and asked, "Why can't Rosa sit where she wants? It doesn't seem fair." Her mother, Mrs. Harper, nodded and said, "It isn't fair, my dear, and I think it's time we do something about it." The news of Rosa's bravery spread quickly throughout Montgomery. People began to gather in the town square, talking about how unfair the bus rules were. A wise old man named Dr. King stood on the steps of the courthouse and addressed the crowd. "Friends, neighbors," Dr. King began, "Rosa has shown us that we can stand up against unfairness. We must come together and show our strength. From now on, let's refuse to ride the bus until these unfair rules are changed." The crowd cheered in agreement. People of all ages and backgrounds decided to walk to work, school, and the market instead of taking the bus. Even though it was difficult and tiring, they were united in their cause. One day, as Rosa was walking to the bakery, she saw a little boy struggling to carry a heavy bag of groceries. She rushed over to help him. "Thank you, Rosa," the boy said, smiling up at her. "My name is Timmy. Why are you walking so far?" Rosa smiled back. "I'm walking because sometimes we have to do hard things to make the world a better place. Do you understand?" Timmy nodded. "Yes, I do. I want to help too." As weeks turned into months, the streets of Montgomery were filled with people walking, riding bicycles, and sharing rides in carriages. The magical bus, once full of laughter and chatter, now traveled empty through the city, looking sad and lonely. One rainy day, Mr. Grump sat alone at the front of the bus, staring out the window. He sighed deeply. "I miss the happy faces," he muttered to himself. "I wish things could go back to the way they were." Meanwhile, in a cozy little house on Maple Street, Dr. King was meeting with other leaders of the city. They talked about what they could do to make the bus fair for everyone. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to keep trying. As the sun set over Montgomery, the people continued to stand together, their spirits unbroken. They knew that their journey was far from over, but they were filled with hope and courage, inspired by Rosa's bravery. Months passed, and the streets of Montgomery were still filled with people walking and riding bicycles. The magical bus, with its once bright colors now fading, continued to roam the city almost empty. The drivers, including Mr. Grump, grew more and more lonely, missing the laughter and joy that used to fill their days. One afternoon, a group of children gathered in the park, watching the bus pass by. Timmy, the little boy Rosa had helped, looked up at his friends with determination in his eyes. "We need to do something," he said. We need to let everyone know how important it is to keep walking until the rules change. Lily, the young girl from the bus, nodded. Let's make signs and tell people why we're doing this, she suggested. The children spent the entire evening painting bright, colorful signs with messages of fairness and unity. The next morning, they marched through the streets holding their signs high. People smiled and cheered, inspired by the children's enthusiasm and courage. In his office, Dr. King received a message from the city leaders. They wanted to meet to discuss the situation. With hope in his heart, Dr. King gathered his friends and supporters, including Rosa, and headed to the meeting. Inside the Grand City Hall, the leaders sat around a long, polished table. Mayor Wilson, a kind-hearted man with a serious expression, stood up to speak. We've seen the determination and strength of our community, he began. It's time we listen and make a change. Mr. Grump, who had been invited to the meeting, cleared his throat. I miss the happy faces on the bus, he admitted. I've come to realize that Rosa and the others are right. It's not fair to make some people sit at the back. Rosa smiled warmly at Mr. Grump. Thank you for understanding, she said. We just want everyone to be treated equally. Mayor Wilson nodded in agreement. From now on, there will be no more rules about where people can sit on the bus. Everyone is free to sit wherever they like. The room erupted in applause and cheers. The news spread quickly through Montgomery, and people celebrated in the streets. The magical bus, now free of unfair rules, seemed to glow brighter as it awaited its passengers. The next morning, Rosa boarded the bus with a big smile. She sat at the front, feeling a sense of accomplishment and pride. Mr. Grump, now much friendlier, greeted her warmly. Good morning, Rosa, he said. Welcome aboard. As the bus made its way through the city, more and more people climbed on, sitting wherever they pleased. Laughter and chatter filled the air, and the magical bus once again became a symbol of joy and unity. Timmy and Lily sat together, their signs proudly displayed in the windows. We did it, Rosa, Timmy exclaimed. Everyone can sit wherever they want now. Rosa nodded, her eyes shining with happiness. Yes, Timmy, we did it together. And remember, it's important to always stand up for what is right, no matter how difficult it may seem. As the bus rolled through the streets of Montgomery, the city felt like a brighter, happier place. People waved at each other, and a sense of community and fairness spread through every corner. Dr. King, standing at the bus stop, watched the magical bus pass by. He smiled, knowing that this victory was just the beginning. There were many more journeys to take and many more battles to fight, but with courage, unity, and love, they could overcome anything. And so the story of Rosa and the magic bus came to a happy end, reminding everyone in Montgomery that bravery and kindness can change the world, one small step at a time. The end.